when you burn down the forest of your life, what happens is that the forest grows back again in a new way with fresh roots.
Yeah.
That's really the foundation of love, self-love, the divine love flowing through you as you cherished, knowing you're cherished for just being you, not having to prove it or perform or, earn kudo points. None of that. It's just being you. That is the new foundation of love, and you get that by exploring yourself. That's really the only way you can get that. You can't get that from anybody else.
Hey, it's Logan Renee of the Soulkation Podcast, the home of all things soul care, a place where we heal, we grow, and we laugh, all while you're building your six-figure business or CEO career. And now it's time for your Soulcation announcements. Some of you have said, I feel like it's time for me to write my book, but I just don't know where to start. And others have said, well, I'm starting the process of writing my book, or I'm kind of finished writing my book. Well, you're both in great hands because Soulcation University has a program called Produce Your Own Book. So for those of you who are starting the process, I have a free gift for you where you can take a questionnaire on where you should even start writing your book or how to organize your book. For those of you who have started the process, the program also offers you how to organize your book, how to find a book cover designer, how to find an editor, proofreader, formatter, how to pre-sell your book, the top secrets of self-publishing, how to market your book and make your book number one. Oh my gosh, you want to get your hands on this program. So just click on the link in the show notes or head over to loganrenee.com. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Soulkation Podcast. I am super excited. And I want her to tell us if her last name really is Hummingbird, because if it is, that is too cute. Okay. But we have Kerri Hummingbird with us today to drop some nuggets on the soul. She is actually my soul sister because that's what our brands are both about, the soul. So, Kerri, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show, Logan. I appreciate being here.
Of course. Is your real last name Hummingbird?
Well, it is now. I mean, in a way, yes. Basically, I changed my last name. As a woman, we always are expected to take on the last name of our spouse when we get married.
Right.
And then I got divorced. And then there's always this question of like, well, do I go back to my quote maiden name or do I, keep my quote married name? There's this question of identity.
Yeah.
And in the inquiry of that, I actually was doing a deep meditation called a drum journey. And I was in this manifestation of manifesting my first home that I would buy by myself. Thank you very much.
Mm.
And I was visualizing being in the home and that I was actually living in this house and having parties and things like that. And I was kind of making the whole thing up. And at the very end of the journey, there was something magical that happened that I didn't plan on. And I was in the house inside the journey, just in my dream. And looking out the back window of the kitchen, there arose this rainbow light in a gush. And there was this rainbow light hummingbird suspended in the air for moments. And it was like that when the spirit comes in and it expands everything and time stops and everything gets really like this sense of awe and majesty happens. It was one of those moments. And I thought, oh, hummingbird. Okay. And I went and looked it up. But the moment I got out of the drum journey, the phone rang and the lady said, the house is yours. The deal that was in progress for the last few weeks fell through just now and they want to receive your offer. So it
Yeah.
was like, wow, powerful moment of synchronicity and connection and message. So I ended up changing my last name to Hummingbird on social media through, even LinkedIn, where all my high tech people were that I worked with for 20 years as a technical writer. I changed my name,
Yeah.
and it's just it's stuck.
I love it. It's catchy, and you want to know the story, right?
Yeah, absolutely, you do.
I love it. So tell me about a woman's journey to self-love. What does that process even look like, especially when the world coaches us, trains us on here's how you really love yourself. Barbie marries Ken, right? Disney tell us that Mulan, she saves the town, but then she ends up with the prince, or not the prince, but the guy, I guess the famous guy in the movie or whatever. Or Belle gets with the beast, right? Then this character that we have had in our lives, in our minds, that's when she's whole. That's when she's complete. So take us back to where you started and to where you are as far as the journey to self-love.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I was in a 20-year relationship that I was trying to make it work and doing everything I could to make it work, going to weekly psychotherapy sessions, trying to figure out, what's wrong with me that this thing won't work. And and we went to couples counseling too, so he also engaged in that part of it. But like a lot of women experience, oftentimes we're the ones that say there's something not quite right here and it needs to change and I need to figure out what that is, so I'm going to go get help. And oftentimes we're sort of dragging our spouses, into these places to get help. And so I was in that spot, and I was also on this starting to awaken. I mean, I never stopped doing my creative pursuits, so I think that really served me in opening my spirituality at a later point. But I was always doing my artwork before work. I never gave up on my art and my creativity. And that path started opening me to start realizing some things that were actually metaphysical. I started seeing, like, at an art show, I'd notice, wow, this person's booth has a lot of traffic. A lot of people are buying things in there. And I would go and look at the products and I'd be like, why are people buying this? But they were buying it like it was, like crack or something. Like you're like, I need to have some of this. This is like chocolate. This is like candy. This is like the best thing ever. And I'm looking at it like, why are they buying this stuff? And I'd be in my booth with my art going, how come they're not buying my art? And in this inquiry, like, I started realizing, wow, it's something to do with my expectations. It's something to do with my energy. It's something to do with, because they'd come in and they'd say, oh, your art's really beautiful. And then they wouldn't buy it.
Mhm.
So I started realizing there's something going on here that I don't understand. And it was waking me up because I wanted to sell my art. That's kind of how the
Right,
spiritual path gets our attention at first, isn't it, Logan? It's like you want something that you're not getting. And
right,
you want to get it. You see somebody else getting it and you want to figure out how you can get it.
right. It's like, what's going on? I know my book is just as great. Like, I don't understand.
Exactly. So, I had the picture perfect life, Logan, like you're talking about. I had the husband. He
Mhm.
was attractive. He made a good income. We had a beautiful house. I had a good income in high tech. On the outside, we had a nice home. Then we had two kids. We looked like the ideal family couple. Like we got it all going on. We're taking the trips to Maui, we're doing all this great stuff. So it looked like we were awesome. And it wasn't really hitting the spot. Like it just, like, I was overeating. I was drinking a lot of wine. I was having to have constant parties just to entertain myself and keep going, like with my work week. I was starting to celebrate, like hump day in the middle of the week. And then thank God it's Friday. Like I'm trying to find some way to cope with the monotony of my life and its smallness. And sure, at that point, I didn't really understand what was going on for me, but it was like I was in the shallow end of the pool and I was suffocating.
Wow.
So, at some point, what happened was, and I got into the trap. I'm a very educated person. I went to an all women's college that's very strident about women's rights and feminism. And and then, a short, I don't know, how long did it take me? 20 years of being an adult. And by then everything was eroding to the point where, the highlight of my week was going to get my acrylic nails done. So it's like the culture
It's
just
funny
wore
now.
me down.
Yeah, I understand. For the woman that's sitting here listening to this saying, I feel like that now. Wine, going out, getting wasted just to get through the day, or hating to get up to go to work. What would you say to her?
I would say that is the sign that your soul is calling you, and there's something much more incredible awaiting you than what you're doing right now. And you need to put it all down to go find out what that is. And it's not like you have to leave. I mean, I took a dramatic leap. Let's just say you don't have to be as dramatic as I was. But you most certainly could sign up for a mentoring program or something like that. Like I'm sure Logan offers, and I certainly offer as well. You could sign up for something like that and start exploring the inside of you. And the inside of you has all the gold. The gold is not on the outside. It's not in the Mercedes Benz. It's not in the diamond ring. It's not in the vacations to Maui. It's not out there. It really isn't. It's on the inside. And so, and it's not in a psychotherapist's couch most often. I would say there are some psychotherapists who are doing some pretty cool stuff now, and they're not, strictly by the Western medical book, in which case, they're a good option. But I would say, it's time to explore the inside. It's really time to get serious about getting back to your roots. What lit you up as a child when you were 5 and they asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? That answer you gave at 5 is much more honest than the answer you're giving right now.
Mhm.
So, getting back to your roots and figuring out like what led you astray. And there's nothing wrong with this. So I want to say, like, if your life's a total wreck right now, or you're perceiving like you're on the verge of like, I've got to toss all this out and start over again, and that's really scary, you're not actually tossing it all out. You're just reconfiguring it. And in the process of reconfiguring it, it certainly feels like tossing it all out. And, I definitely felt like I burned down the whole forest of my life. But the thing that happens when you do that, and there's a beautiful poem about it, I wish I could refer people to it, but when you burn down the forest of your life, what happens is that the forest grows back again in a new way with fresh roots.
Yeah.
That's really the foundation of love, self-love, the divine love flowing through you as you cherished, knowing you're cherished for just being you, not having to prove it or perform or, earn kudo points. None of that. It's just being you. That is the new foundation of love. And you get that by exploring yourself. That's really the only way you can get that. You can't get that from anybody else. So, I burned down the forest of my life. I left my 20-year relationship. I said, screw you to psychotherapy. Take your pills and shove it. And I stopped taking those no feeling pills. And I just said, okay, show me what's next, whatever the bigger thing is. And I'd had a couple of moments of connection with what I would call God, source, creator, great spirit, the essence, the consciousness, the universe, that presence that surrounds us and fills us. I'd had a few moments where, I eat, pray, love style on the bathroom floor saying, God, please help me.
Yeah.
I'm a freaking mess right now. And then having this sense of peace and calm come over me. So I took the leap of faith because I had these couple of tangible moments where I felt like something bigger was guiding me. And I said, okay, then fine, I'll just take off all my clothes and run naked down the street, like fine, I'll just do that. But you don't have to be as dramatic as me. Like it doesn't have to happen that way. It can happen in smaller increments.
Yeah. Is there any time where you had to like just sit back and say, okay, this is who I'm gonna be, and I'm not gonna be anything else but this? Did you ever have that moment?
I had so many moments like that, and I crossed over myself many times in that 20-year relationship.
Yeah.
Most specifically near the end of the relationship where I allowed myself to be lured by the idea of, well, if let's spice it up by, going to couples clubs and meeting other couples and interviewing them to see if we want to do some kind of trade, like things like that. I knew in my heart of hearts that was not the way for me. And I
Wow.
still went and explored it. Now, luckily, I didn't venture in that territory very far, but there's like these lines you cross when you're trying to salvage something that actually is way past its prime. Like it's served its purpose. It's pretty much dying on the vine. It's sort of like you buy these beautiful flowers that they cut, right? At the stalks, they cut them and they put them in water. And
Right.
they're beautiful for a while. And then they start to rot.
Right.
And are you going to, like, how long is it going to take you to toss them in the garbage once you see the green gunk forming inside the vase? It's like time to mulch that and go on to something new.
Yeah.
And I'm a person that held on. Like I've had to learn how to let go. I don't know about anybody listening, but I've had such a hard time letting go in my life. Like when there's been something that's been really good, it's hard to let it go. Like I had a very beautiful connection with my former spouse, and had so much fun when we were younger. We did so many adventures. We went to Hawaii and we went on all these adventures, and we had so much fun, and we ate at fine dining and all of this stuff. We helped each other in our early careers. Like there was so much goodness. We had our children together, let's just say. So there
Yeah.
was so much that was good. It was so hard to walk away from it and to admit that it wasn't serving who I was becoming because it was inflexible. Like it actually, he was not willing to grow it in that way that I needed it to grow. And, I was stifling myself trying to stay in that limited, tight container.
Yeah.
So at some point you got to see, hey, those flowers are way past their prime and it's time to like honor them and bury them in the earth and say thank you so much and like move on.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Ayanla and Aunt said one time, she said, good doesn't mean safe. And I was like,
Right.
wow. Like, it's so true because, in our heads, we'll play back the good moments. And for some strange reason, all the things that we know we shouldn't have been a part of, or we shouldn't have been doing, or, times where we just felt insecure or put down or whatever, we'll just X those out. And then we'll remember us sitting at the park that one time having a picnic. It's like, how can you erase all these other things, but you remember that one good time? And I think we do that as women because I'm not going to say it's hard to get married because you can marry anybody these days if you really want to. I believe it's harder to be with the right person. Would you agree with that?
It's absolutely true because the journey you have to go on in order to select the quote right person is an inner journey to find out who you really are and what you're all about. And not only that, but what you're here to do in terms of what I would call soul's curriculum.
Yeah.
So, the relationship I had with my first husband was definitely part of my soul's curriculum. I mean, it was all about that. It was the karma aspect of my soul's curriculum where I was really learning about relationship and it was processing agreements, hidden agreements, hidden belief systems, hidden opinions and hidden patterns. I was from my childhood and my ancestry, I was processing all of that in my relationship, but it was hidden from me because I didn't have the tools and skills to understand that at the time.
Mhm.
And then when I left him, what happened was, I left him because it was so uncomfortable and I wasn't getting any relief using any of the tools given to me. Like psychotherapy wasn't helping me. The pills were not helping me. I mean, they were helping me cope, but they weren't helping me heal. And I knew inside of me that I wasn't going to live the rest of my life that way.
Yeah.
So, at some point you have to decide like, are the tools you have working for you? And if they're not, even if they're the tools that everybody else uses and everybody tells you you're supposed to use that tool, well, you might just have to say, well, you know what? I'm a unicorn. That doesn't work for me. I got to go find another way. I'm going to find my path. And you guys do what you do. I'm going to do what I do. And you got to go on your own path. And that's what I did. And I think that's the path. That's really the ultimate equation we all follow is to break away from conformity and embrace the beautiful uniqueness of our individual journey toward understanding ourselves in a greater sense and reconnecting back to love. That's really our journey. And we each go on it our own way. And my way looked like burning down the forest and saying, screw you. And, and going have a bunch of affairs with a bunch of different guys. And,
What?
that was mine.
Kerri!
I know, such a wicked thing. And I did do that. And, actually on the flip side of that, I'm proud of myself in some ways for claiming the truth and demonstrating the truth. And I'm also sad because in claiming my own power, I really decimated my first husband's sense of self. And that, when I look back on things, makes my heart break
Mm,
because of the love I had for him and that I still care for him very deeply. He's the father of my children. And,
mm,
my first mentor, Heather Ashamara, said this thing to me that really sticks in my craw a lot, which is that when women start to speak their truth, it's not very elegant at first. And I have to say that's so true. Like
yeah.
my path to discovering myself has been fierce and bold and loud and dramatic. And yeah, some of my family members have gotten a little trodden down in the process of that. And so now I'm in this recapitulation process, this reclaiming process from a space of love and understanding and compassion of what my path that kind of sort of havoc that it wreaked on everybody around me. So
Mm,
it's a lot.
that's so true. And that makes me think about me being in college, my whole, because I was in an abusive relationship up until my freshman year. So to get him back, in my mind, it was, well, I'm just going to talk to whoever I want to talk to. No feelings, no sleepovers. I don't call you back. Just playing a game of thinking I'm in control, I'm running the show. And I was really losing. And what I
Mhm.
learned about the soul is, even though you think you're getting away with it, the soul is keeping score and the soul is keeping track of all of it. And all those things, people that you accumulate inside of yourself, literally, you're going to have to heal by yourself. Those people will be gone, long gone, moving on, and you're sitting here, you're like, why can't I sleep? Or why I keep having all these thoughts? You know what I'm saying? And it's
I
because,
totally know.
yeah, the soul is like, girl, you got so much stuff to heal. Wake up. I'm like, okay, let me go
Yeah,
sit up then.
the biggest thing I learned from that experience and I'm still learning is never to use another person as a scapegoat for my own crap that I need to work on inside myself. Like,
Mm.
do not blame other people for my stuff. That is
Amen.
like I have to own every little bit of my ideas, my and I used to get so angry with him because I thought I saw things so clearly. Like over the last several years since we've been divorced. I think we got divorced in 2011. It's now 2000. So it's been about 10 years. And along the way, like I would send him email is not a good communication strategy either for a relationship, by the way. I send fire these emails and texts back and forth. And along the way, I would say things to him like I would clearly see something in him and I'd be like, I see this, 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 and this. And he'd write back one word, projection. And I would get so angry at him. I'd be like, no way, man. I'm like this healer. I'm his mentor. I totally see the truth in things. You can't tell me I'm projecting on you. You just don't want to work on your stuff. And now years later, I look back at it and I think, wow, like probably there was some truth to what I was saying on his end that he didn't want to admit, but largely it was none of my business anymore. He's not my spouse anymore. He's not somebody that wants my input. And yeah, that was all my projected stuff. That was nothing to do with him. It was all about me reconciling our failed relationship. And it's not even failed, it's just terminated. It came to completion. It had its purpose, it fulfilled its purpose, it came to completion.
Yeah,
And now I have to come to terms with its completion.
yeah. And
And that's not his job, that's mine.
yes, yes, yes.
So much yes.
It really is. And when I think the wisest thing for us to do is step back and say, how did I play into this? How did I contribute to this? And what can I do different next time? And that's okay to have been wrong or to have not done your best with something. Like I think we beat ourselves up even more because we thought we were supposed to be perfect and doing something that we have never done before. Like, have you ever been married before your marriage?
Well, so no, I'd never been done before that marriage. I'd
Okay.
never been married. I had a long-term relationship with a man that my parents really thought I was going to marry. He was with me through high school through college. And we got back in touch after my divorce
Wow.
and it was like after a few years after my divorce. And it was nice to say, you know what, I really appreciate you. Like it didn't work out for us, but I'm going for like what we had before when I was a teenager. Like I'm going for the honesty, the integrity, the willingness to do your own part of the work. There were very intrinsic things about him that resonated as truth for me still. And actually my partner today, who met me at a fire walk years ago, 5 years ago actually, he came into one of my fire walks and he was like, whoa, the woman in my dreams is leading this fire walk.
Mm.
And I look in the audience, I'm like, You're kidding, right? Here's this hot guy. He's in the second row. He's completely to my specs. In the fourth row, 2 rows back from him, is my ex-husband and his new girlfriend, because I'd invited them to come, and I thought I could not miss the synchronicity of the handoff. It's like, okay, out with the old, in with the new. Like, okay, this is the big handoff, But it's like, how can you really appreciate all the relationships you ever had and the lessons they taught you?
Yeah.
We learn by experience, and so thank goodness that my former spouse, the father of my children, has enough integrity and decorum that he silently processed his own reactions to my very vocal sharing across all my social media platforms and podcasts and books.
Wow.
And he was able to be so grounded in himself that he didn't attack. He didn't go into attack. He's a person of integrity. So I really honor him for that. And now that I see what's, the other side of things, see, as we do the work, like you're talking about, Logan, of like claiming your own part of it,
Yeah.
it's really hard. It's a bitter pill to swallow. But as we swallow that pill and we really look at ourselves, we get a new lens to see other people through. And that is the blessing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we grow up.
We grow up, basically, yes.
I love it. Is there any resources? Of course, please share that with the audience, your book. Any other resources that you would leave the ladies with?
Yes. So, yeah, my new book is Love is Fierce, Healing the Mother Wound. And it's really amazing how healing this primary relationship, the relationship with our mother, the identity we got from our mother, how that healing that and claiming our own truth outside the web that our mother has wove for us out of love and out of protection and safety, all the good things, right? But then it also is restrictive. And there's dynamics and there's, the sister wound and all of these things. And so this all gets healed when you work on this inner inquiry and this inner journey of healing the mother wound. So yeah, I lead a sacred circle for doing this. And the book itself is an activation. So just simply reading the book and contemplating it will activate realization. And realization activates healing, because once you know something, you know it now. You can't not know it anymore. You know it. And, once you know truth, you access truth. That's the truth. So you feel it, you know it. And now you're kind of helped and supported and not breaking the rules again, like about the truth, right? So that book is on Amazon, and there's also a series of beautiful conversations that I had with 17 different speakers about the earth, the return of mother wisdom, the return of the divine feminine, empowerment, speaking our truth. How do we honor our children and give them the space to become their true selves? All of these conversations are happening in that summit, and all of it's available at motherwoundbook.com. That's motherwoundbook.com. And then my website for my services is kerrihummingbird.com, Kerri hummingbird.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kerri.
Thank you, Logan.
I know there's somebody listening that is going to identify with your story. So I thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. All right, ladies, you heard it here. Make sure you check out Kerri's website and share this episode with a close friend. If there's something that resonated with you, leave a comment either on YouTube or in the show notes, and we'll catch you on the next episode. No, not in the show notes. You can't leave a comment in the show notes. Leave a comment on Apple Podcasts or Deezer or TuneIn. We would love to hear your feedback, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Soulkation Podcast.
My hope is that your soul just went on a vacay, and you have tools that you can apply to your life today. For more in-depth tools, head on over to loganrenee.com. Also, if you have questions that weren't answered on this episode, email your questions to logan@loganrenee.com, and I'll answer them here on the show. I'll talk to you soon.